Hi everyone, this is Alexis. I hope you can hear me. We're gonna start now in just 2 or 3 minutes. So we're gonna wait for the other people joining the conference room. Can you on the chat? You have a chat on your right. Can you just write down that if you can hear me? So just say yes if you can hear me well. And we're going to start just in a moment this wine tasting. Kerry says yes. Okay, good. Good. Eric says yes as well. Good. So you can hear, I'm French, so I have a French accent, so don't hesitate to interrupt. Yes, yes, you can hear me. Okay, so okay, we're gonna wait 1 or 2 more minutes. I'm gonna turn on my camera so I can say hello to you. Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope it's not too late for you, and you can we're gonna spend 1 hour together tonight. So please make sure that you're quiet. You can take with you a piece of paper, pen. 2 more minutes now. So we're waiting for the last person. So please tell me in the chat where are you from? Just want to see where is my audience tonight and which city, which country you live. That would be interesting for me to see a bit where you are tonight. So London, Kerry, great. Belgium airport. Okay. No, I don't hear the noise. Don't worry about that. Moldova. Okay, great. Amy, she says Brussels. Okay, Belgium as well. We have Giuseppe from Sicily. Who else do we have? We have Sarah from Luxembourg. Okay. So I'm right now. I'm in France. I'm in the south of Paris, in the Loire Valley. That's the place where I live. But I will introduce myself just in a moment. Well, can you tell me also in the chat how familiar are you with French wine? Do you know French wine? Do you drink French wine sometimes? How familiar are you? Are you like a beginner? Do you already have a wine cellar full of French wine? So please let me know how familiar are you with French wine. And if you drink French wine, that would be interesting to see what kind of wine do you drink. Okay, we have Giuseppe. He's a beginner. Okay, so don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to say that you start from zero. You are a beginner, because I really am going to give you all the basics to understand French wine tonight. We have someone enjoying Burgundy wines. Great. I love Burgundy wines as well. So we have Paul. He says, drink some Bordeaux wines. Okay. Eric, he's a beginner enthusiast. Okay, good. Okay, so I suggest we start. It's already 7:02, so let's start this presentation. Again, this presentation will last, let's say, 1 hour approximately. So make sure that you are quiet. If you are in an airport, that's okay. Don't worry. You can take some notes, so take a pen, so a piece of paper. So the presentation, the webinar tonight is the 5 steps to understanding French wine and becoming a French wine expert. So I'm going to show you the way to become a French wine expert, and at least to know what to talk about when you talk about French wine, and how to choose a bottle of French wine in any situations. So the webinar tonight, as I just said, we will be together for about 1 hour, including questions and answers. So I don't want to take too much of your time. I think in 1 hour we will cover many things. This will be quite intense, and I will try to keep some time at the end for questions that you may have. But don't hesitate to ask questions during the presentation. If I'm not clear enough for a few topics or things, so don't hesitate to interrupt. You have the chat again on the right, so you can, if you have any comments, question, don't hesitate. So it can be really interactive. And if you stay till the end, I've got a surprise for you. So try to have 1 hour for this webinar. Okay. So first, who I am. So I want to present myself. Again, I'm going to put the camera on. That's just so you can see my face right now. I'm dressing in black, as you see. So my name is Alexis. I'm going to turn off the camera. And I'm just located in this place where you see all the bottles behind me. So my name is Alexis Caro. I'm French again, and I'm a French sommelier. So I work in the wine business as a wine consultant since 2011. So now it's been 7 years behind me. I must say that I started my career as an engineer. So I worked for 10 years in a big corporate, big companies, traveling a lot. And then I made a big turn in my life to work in the wine industry, in the wine business. I must say that I'm coming from a family of owning restaurants. So I was lucky to be introduced to French wine when I was quite young. But so I'm in the wine business industry since 2011. And in 2012, I decided to create a range of wine tasting classes to explain French wine, to introduce French wine to visitors in France, in Paris. So since 2012, I've been doing hundreds of wine tasting classes, especially in Paris for visitors, for tourists, for people visiting France, also for Parisians, for French people, but I must say mostly for foreign visitors. And I've been also a wine consultant, training restaurant staff. So I've been working with a few restaurants. They were coming to me to help them to train the people, the staff, especially with French wine, and helping them to create a wine list with the French wine. And I've been working with some chefs, some Michelin star chefs. So that was great experiences. And I'm traveling also a lot because I love traveling, and I've been giving wine lectures in different countries. This picture just on the right, that's me in Denver, Colorado, in USA last year. So I was invited by a wine club to make a presentation, a lecture on French wine. Sometimes I travel in Belgium as well, in Germany, and in France. I'm mostly based in France. So today I'm also the director of a Loire Valley wine appellation. This is the Bourgueil appellation. So I'm going to come back on this appellation concept in a few minutes. So I'm quite busy working in the wine industry. That's really my passion. These are a few pictures that I wanted to show you. You can see the Loire Valley vineyard on the bottom left. The picture just in the middle at the bottom, I just took this picture. That was 2 days ago. That was on Saturday. So I was doing a private wine tasting class for some visitors coming in Paris for there was a big golf event in the south of Paris. Um, so again, there's a picture I think on the top of me in Denver last year, and some samples of bottles I'm testing on the bottom right. Okay, so now. Okay, this presentation, the 5 steps to understanding French wine. The objective of this, I want to make you feel confident with French wine. Sometimes people they think, okay, I must be very I must be like a sommelier to talk about French wine and to choose a wine to read a wine list. But no, you don't need to do this. So I want you to feel confident at the end of this presentation. I want you to being able to buy the right wines by yourself, so to know at least what you buy. I want you to be able to choose a bottle at the restaurant. That's not very complicated, and same in any wine shop. And again, I want you to be able to talk with other wine lovers. And also some wine professionals. So it's not this complicated, okay? So we're gonna start. This is the webinar overview. These are the different parts of the presentation. I'm gonna introduce first the map of France and talk about the regional differences between the north part of France and the south, and I'm going to introduce all the different wine regions. Then in the second part, I'm going to talk about the concept of French appellation, and this is really something important to understand to understand French wine. We're going to talk about the French labels. What types of information you can read, you can see on any French labels. Of course, I'm going to talk in the fourth part about all the grape varieties that you find in France, and especially the grape that you really need to know. So I'm not going to focus on real local grapes, but the international grape varieties, and especially where you can find the grapes you like. Part 5, a few words about the best vintages, because the quality of the wine depends also on the vintage and the year of the harvest. And I will finish presenting you what I call the 10 iconic French wines that you need to know to make your way on the France of wines. So I will cover all these different parts. Again, don't hesitate to interrupt if you have any questions on these different parts. So let's start with the first one. So this is the map of France, okay? This is the map of France. I hope you can see it well. And you can see that I draw a line right in the middle, a horizontal line. So I'm gonna come back on this just in a few seconds. Well, if you look at this map, you have different colors. Each color represents a main wine region in France. Of course, you know Bordeaux. Bordeaux is very famous on the southwest of France. You might know Champagne. Champagne is the region on the east of Paris. If you look at this map, this is the northern part of the French vineyard. This is really where you find the wines really the most on the north of France. So you can see Paris, and just to close to Champagne. You have the Loire Valley. The Loire Valley is this really long regions with the green color, the Loire Valley. And just in the middle of the Loire, you see Tours, the city of Tours. Tours, that's where I'm living today. You have the Burgundy region, a bit on the east of the Loire, in the pink color. Just south of Burgundy, you have the Beaujolais region, close to Lyon. You have then, if you continue to go south, you have the Rhone Valley, beautiful region. And then if you turn a bit east, when you arrive at the Mediterranean Sea, you have the Provence, famous for all the rosé, the Languedoc-Roussillon, more on the west, and beside Bordeaux, on the south of Bordeaux, all the southwest regions. So please let me know in the chat if you are familiar with these different regions. Let me know if this is really new for you. And one region I didn't mention is on the far east, that's the Alsace. So Alsace, it's really on the border with Germany. It's a German style wine, so we're gonna come back on this. So please let me know if you know all these regions or if this is new for you. Lucy says that she knows Bordeaux and Rosé from Provence. Okay, all right. And John says Burgundy and Champagne. Okay, good. Bogdan says Alsace, Champagne, Burgundy. So Bogdan knows all the east, northeast vineyards. Sauvignon from Loire, yes. Isabel is familiar with most regions. Good. Okay, so first thing to notice. Oh, Eric, that's the Languedoc-Roussillon on the south. Good. So this is the map of France. As you can see, there is this line, this horizontal line, just right in the middle. So this line, this is a virtual line, of course. It will divide France in two parts, the north part and the south part. So, well, let's say that if you are located north to this line, you will find a majority of white wines. And then in the south, you have a majority of red wines. This is the first thing to understand with France. Of course, you will find a few reds in the north, and of course, you will find some white in the south. But if you look at the Loire Valley, you have a big majority of white wines. Someone was saying, I think that was Giuseppe mentioning the Sauvignon from the Loire. This is a good example. The Burgundy on the north part of Burgundy, that's the Chablis region with lots of majority of whites. Alsace is 80% of white wines. And then if you go south, Beaujolais, that's a red wine region. Bordeaux, 80–90% of red wines. Same in the Rhone Valley. So you have really this distinction between the north part of France and the south. So why do we have this distinction? That's because the more you go south in France, the more heat you get, the temperature are much warmer, you have more sun in the south. And let's say that when you have these conditions, it's much easier to grow red varieties to make red wines. And usually the wineries that are producing white wines, they need some cooler climate to give the wine some acidity, and that's what you find in cooler climate, so more in the north part of France. So that's the first thing to notice: more white wines in the north, more red in the south. Okay, so that's the first thing if you refer to this virtual line. But there is something else with this virtual line. On the north part of this line, the wines, they are what I call varietal wines, and in the south, blend wines. So what's the difference between these two wines? The thing is, on the north part of this line, the majority of wines, they are made with just one grape variety. So for instance, 100% Chardonnay, 100% Sauvignon Blanc, 100% Riesling, 100% Pinot Noir. So just one grape variety in the wines in the north. And in the south, they have this tradition of blending grapes together. That's the case in Bordeaux. I mean, a typical Bordeaux wine is a blend of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. If you go to the Rhone Valley, the typical Rhone Valley wine is a blend of the Syrah and the Grenache. That's the same in the Languedoc. So we really have these two distinction. One grape varieties in the north and blend in the south. So why? What's the reason of this? It's mostly because remember, the more you go south in France, the more heat you get, temperature are much warmer. So, and the consequence is that the wines produced in the south, sometimes if it's only one grape variety, they're a bit unbalanced. Too much alcohol or too much tannin or too much of something. So the wineries, the winemakers in the south of France, they need to balance the grape varieties to avoid having too much alcohol or too much tannin or too much. And that's why they have this tradition of blending grapes in the south part of France. Of course, you can find exceptions in the south and in the north, but this, if you refer to this virtual line, that's another thing you will see. So remember, more white in the north, more red in the south, and then one single grape in the north and a blend in the south. That's another thing. Okay. So that's I wanted to show you, to give you this overview of the map of France with the main region and this distinction between north and south. Now, there's something very important to understand, is the concept of the French appellation. That's something which is French, but not only, and that's this concept is really similar in Spain and Italy. And in general, this is a concept you find in the old Europe, compared to what we call the New World's wine, like the USA, South America, Australia, New Zealand. In all these New World country for the wines, when you buy a bottle of wine, you buy a grape variety. You buy a bottle of Chardonnay, you buy a Merlot blend, you buy a Pinot Noir. In France, and that's also the case a lot for Spain, Italy, and other regions, you buy a location. You buy a location. So if you buy any bottle of French wine, you will always find on the label the name of a location. And then you will find this appellation. Sometimes, of course, if you're lucky, you can find the grape varieties on the back label, or because the winery, they also export the wines outside France. But there is a strong concept of what we call the appellation. So what is an appellation in France? Well, the appellation refers to a location, so that's a location, plus some specifications of production for the wineries, the winemakers. So appellation is a kind of certification that says, okay, the wine has been made at this place, at this location, with some specifications. Okay. So why do we find these appellations in France? In France, we have been making wine since centuries, you know, and then people, after all these times, they have identified the best terroir and all the terroir, and appellations were created to identify France's unique terroirs. Okay, so what is a terroir? That's a word you can also read and hear a lot in France. What we call a terroir is a combination of the soil characteristics plus a landscape plus a climate plus a grape variety. So all this together make a unique terroir. Okay. And in France, the French wanted to give a name to these all different terroirs, and that's how the concept of appellation started. Saying, okay, this combination we will call this the name of the village, and then give some specifications to do the best wines of the place. Okay. So what's behind an appellation? You have an example just on the left of that's a Bordeaux wine label. So you have the vintage 1986 Chateau Béranger Bordeaux, and it says appellation Bordeaux contrôlé. So I'm going to come back on how to read labels, but you see this appellation concept directly on the label. Well, what's behind an appellation? Again, some specifications about the place of production. So that's a reference to a location. The permitted grape varieties, like in Bordeaux, for instance, you have some grapes that you can use and some that you cannot use. You have some specification regarding the viticultural practices. For instance, the amount of grapes on the vines, a maximum amount of grapes in the vines to keep the quality. Also, some specifications regarding the vinification methods, so all the winemaking process. You have also specifications on the minimum alcoholic degree. So you have to have at least, I think it's always around 10.5% alcohol, and you also have a maximum degree, but minimum was an issue 20, 30 years ago, and now in general with global warming, they don't have any difficulty to have the minimum alcoholic degree. So these are written on all the specifications of the French appellations, and that's the majority of French wine. The majority of French wines, they are labeled within an appellation, okay? And there are more than 400 appellations, so don't worry. Looks complex to understand all this, but it's not that complex, okay? Especially that appellations, they are region is key. So if you know the region, you get what you. They are divided in region, the appellations. But we're going to come back to this just in a moment. Okay, so let's continue with this appellation, and I want to talk now about the French labels. Okay, so just before entering in the description of French labels, are you okay with the appellations? Is it clear enough, or no questions at this point? Just drinking a glass of water, not a glass of wine tonight. Sorry. Wine will be after the presentation. Clear? Okay, good. And again, this appellation concept, it's a bit similar in Spain, in Italy, in Portugal, and the other European region, European countries. Okay, now French labels. So you have a few bottles just in front of us, 6 bottles, some champagne, some Burgundy, some Chateau from Bordeaux. Well, I don't know if you can see this on the picture, but there is no mention of grape varieties. Again, as I was saying just before, just name of wineries, names of producers, names of appellations, of locations, but nothing regarding the grape varieties. Okay, French labels. Let's continue. What do you find on French labels? First, you will find how appellation, the location of production. So in most cases, you will find the name of an appellation. For example, you can see Sancerre AOC. So Sancerre is a village in the Loire Valley producing amazing Sauvignon Blanc. So if you like a white, dry, white, crisp white with beautiful length and acidity, Sancerre is a great appellation. So we see AOC. AOC means A like appellation, O like origin, and C contrôlé. So you might see the location like Sancerre AOC, or you can find also the appellation Sancerre contrôlé. So right in the middle between the two words appellation and contrôlé, you have the name of the location. That's something important to remember, because sometimes people, when they look at labels, they are a bit lost, and they have no idea where the wines are coming from. So don't remember, if you're a bit lost reading labels, try to find on the labels the appellation, and just close to this appellation, you will see the name of the location, appellation Sancerre. Okay. So first thing that you see on French labels is the location of production. That's on the appellation. Another thing to be noticed regarding appellations, I just said previously that most French wines, they have an appellation. Sometimes you will not find appellation, you will find other notations like Vin de France. It's just French wine. It means that you have no indication of where it's produced, you just know that's a French wine. Because sometimes some winemakers, they also have vines outside the appellation location, so they cannot label their wine with appellation, and sometimes just Vin de France, wine from France. Okay, I'm continue. What else? You can find on French label, that's the name of the winery or the producer. Like two examples, Chateau Margaux. I'm sure maybe you have heard of the Chateau Margaux. That's one of the most famous Bordeaux. The Chateau, that's a concept, that's a Bordeaux concept, Chateau. Most, if not all of them, they are called Chateau something. The concept of Chateau is very important, and Chateau is just a winery. So sometimes it refers to a castle, a big building, an old building, but that's not always the case. So Chateau is, when you see Chateau on the label, there's a big probability that's the Bordeaux wine. So Chateau Margaux, name of the winery, or you can also find Domaine Sigaud. Domaine is a French word that means winery, just winery. So Domaine Sigaud would say the wine, that's the name of the winery, Sigaud, and Sigaud is just like a family name. Okay. What else do we find? We find on labels other notations. So I'm just going to show you some examples in just a few seconds. You can find the vintages, 2009, 2014, any vintage. So remember the vintage that you read on labels. The vintage is the year of the harvest. That's when the grapes, they were harvested, okay? You can see some other notations like Premier Cru or Grand Cru. When you see a Premier Cru or Grand Cru, you expect something great. That's a reference to the best terroir, the best plots of vines. So it's an additional notation regarding I would say, the quality of the vineyard. And of course, you pay also a bit more than just a simple wine when you see Premier Cru or Grand Cru. This notation, Premier Cru and Grand Cru, you see them especially in Burgundy, Bourgogne, but also in Bordeaux. Bordeaux, you might find this on Champagne labels and on Alsace wine labels. But this is really more important in Bordeaux and Burgundy. And then after all this notation, you can find some specific regional notations. So when I'm saying regional notations, I mean each wine region has its additional notation. Like an example in Champagne, sometimes a bottle of Champagne, you can read Blanc de Blanc. So if you read Blanc de Blanc, means that's 100% Chardonnay. So why? Because Blanc de Blanc means white. Blanc, that's the color, white. A white Champagne made with white varieties. And in Champagne, the Chardonnay is the only white varieties. So if you have a full white Champagne, that's a Chardonnay, 100%. In Alsace, you might find vendange tardive. Vendange tardive means in French late harvest. So when you have late harvest, means that the grapes, they have been harvested much later, and the grapes, they're really sweet, and at the end you get a sweet wine. So if you buy your late harvest, you're gonna have a sweet wine from Alsace. Don't in the chat, and don't hesitate to ask if you already come across some other specification. Lucie says, what's brut? So brut is what you find on Champagne labels. It is about the sugar content, the level of residual sugar, brut. What do we have? Premier cru, yes, that's something you find in Burgundy, John says. Okay, so I continue. Let's have a look at an example. So you might have heard about this famous Bordeaux Chateau Cheval Blanc. That's a premium chateau in Bordeaux. So lots of information on this label. So I hope you can see it clearly. We have Chateau Cheval Blanc. So remember, the winery in Bordeaux, it's in most cases Chateau something. So Cheval Blanc, that's the famous winery in Bordeaux. Right in the middle, we have the vintage, 1990. And when you see this, you can, if you see this for the first time, you can just start thinking, where is the location of production? Where is it produced? So check, remember, when you're a bit lost with all these different kind of informations, try to find the appellation. So tell me in the chat if you find what is the appellation, if you can read this on this label. I want to check if you are following me. So what do you see on this label? Yeah, Saint-Emilion, of course. Yes, thank you. Yes, Eric, Saint-Emilion. So that's Saint-Emilion. But between appellation and contrôlé, there is another word. That's Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. Well, I don't want to enter in too much details and to make this complex, but in Bordeaux, you have one appellation that's just appellation Saint-Emilion contrôlé, and you have another appellation which is appellation Saint-Emilion Grand Cru contrôlé. So Grand Cru, that's in Saint-Emilion. Saint-Emilion, that's a village in Bordeaux, and there are a few plots of vine. There's a part of the vineyard which is ranked as Grand Cru. These are the best terroir, the best soils with the best conditions to make better wine. So Giuseppe is asking a question which is a really interesting question. What is a Grand Cru Classé? That's something very interesting because the Grand Cru definition, unfortunately for you, may be a bit different between two regions. And basically, we have one definition, which is a definition linked to the terroir, to the plot of vine. If you go to Burgundy, or if you go to Alsace, or even in Champagne, what they call a Grand Cru is a reference to the best plot of vines. So it's not moving. That's just a reference to the soil. Okay. Now, if you go to Bordeaux, the Grand Cru it's a reference to the chateau, to the winery. So all the winery is a Grand Cru. So what is the difference? The difference is that in Bordeaux, for instance, when you have a winery which is ranked as a Grand Cru, this winery can buy another plot of vines. The winery in Bordeaux can just increase its vine, and it will always be a Grand Cru, even if they grow. Okay, but in Burgundy, the Grand Cru is just fixed to the plot of land, of the plot of vines. So in Burgundy, a Grand Cru can be shared between different producers, and they can all put the name of the Grand Cru on the label. But in Bordeaux, that's a reference to the winery. That's the main difference. I think, in my opinion, the definition that you find in Burgundy makes more sense because it's really linked to the soil, to the terroir, to the landscape, and to the terroir. We have a question. Is this because the soil matters most in white wines? Well, the soil matters both for white and reds. Huh? So the soil, I think that's not just the soil, that's the soil, but that's also the landscape, that's also the exposure with the sun, that's lots of, and also the climate. In general, I think in France, but also in all over the world, you always find the best wines, the best vineyard when you are located on a small slope. Because when you're on a slope, what happens, so small hills, small slope, what happens is that you have a better exposure for your grapes with the sun. The water is drained away, and you are a bit protected by the slope against the strong wind, for instance. So you can go everywhere in France and even in the world. All the best wines come from vineyards with a slope, and that's where you mostly find the Grand Cru. Okay, I don't want to enter too much into the Grand Cru definition because I think I could do a webinar just focused on this. That would be maybe another webinar coming, just Grand Cru. But thank you for your question. That's an interesting question. Okay, so on this label, we have the winery, Chateau Cheval Blanc. We have the appellation, Appellation Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. We have this Grand Cru notation, and it's Premier Grand Cru classé. So in Bordeaux, they have a lots of different classifications. Again, I don't want to enter into much details, but different classifications for the wines. And then you have also some information regarding the address, the alcohol content, the volume of the bottle, etc. But what's important is I wanted you to show you the location and the name of the winery. All right. Now we have another part, the grape varieties. This is a very important part to understand French wine. So I've been talking about the map of France, the north and the south, the labels, the appellations, and I'm coming to the grapes because what makes the definition, the identity of a wine, that's not only the soil and the terroir, that's also the grape. The grapes they give a lot to the resulting wine in terms of flavors, of style, of tannins, of acidity. So grapes is really important, and especially for people who are familiar with wines from outside Europe, with grapes mentioned on the label. So I want to make the link between the grape varieties and our region, so our location, our appellation. So to understand the grape varieties in France, region is key. The key is the region. So when you read a label of French wine, you should always try to search the region, because each region in France, each French region has its dominant grape variety. So let's talk about this right now. So let's talk about the red grapes in France. If you like Cabernet Sauvignon, and if you like the Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot blends, where do you find these wines? That's Bordeaux, okay? So Bordeaux, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, these are the two big grape varieties that you find in Bordeaux. You also find some local grapes on the blends, but remember, like if you like Cabernet Sauvignon, if you drink Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa in the US, if you like Cabernet Sauvignon from Australia, and you want to have this, the French Cabernet Sauvignon, that's Bordeaux. First thing, okay? Now, if you like Pinot Noir, so Pinot Noir, for those who are not familiar, that's a grape resulting in really delicate wines with lower tannin, with lighter colors. Pinot Noir, that's Burgundy, okay? You find also a bit of Pinot Noir in Alsace and in Champagne, but Pinot Noir, that's a grape variety that doesn't like heat. So it's really rare to find Pinot Noir in the south of France. It's much too warm for the Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir, that's Burgundy. Syrah. Syrah in Australia, in South Africa, even sometimes in the US, they call this Shiraz. So Shiraz, Syrah, that's the same grape variety. In France, that's the grape you find in the Rhone Valley. So if you like Syrah, go directly to the Rhone. That's where you find the best Syrah in France. Syrah is a grape that likes heat, warm climate. So you will find the Syrah more in the south of France, in the Rhone, also in the Languedoc. But in the Languedoc, it will be blended with other varieties. So Syrah, the best Syrah, Rhone Valley. Grenache. So Grenache, again, that's a grape that likes heat, warm climate. That's the south of France. That's the south of the Rhône Valley and all the Languedoc-Roussillon. And if you can even continue south to Spain, it's called Garnacha in Spain. That's a big grape, the Grenache. And Syrah and Grenache, they are often blended together. It's a bit like the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot for Bordeaux. So remember the blend varieties to balance the flavors, the style, and etc. Cabernet Sauvignon brings tannin, Merlot brings fruit and alcohol, and it's a bit the same for Syrah and Grenache. Syrah will bring some tannin, some black fruit flavors, and Grenache bring alcohol and fruits, red fruit flavors. Malbec is not a big grapes in France, but because some people sometimes they think Malbec, you can only find Malbec in Argentina, but no, Malbec comes originally from France, and you find the Malbec in the southwest of France. You might find a few Malbec also in Bordeaux, but as a not a dominant grape. Gamay, that's the Beaujolais grape. A bit of Gamay in the Loire as well, but that's really big in Beaujolais. If you drink a Beaujolais, that's 100% Gamay. Gamay makes Beaujolais wine really light, easy wine, easy to drink. And for the red varieties, the Cabernet Franc. The Cabernet Franc, that's the Loire Valley. The Loire Valley, that's the region where you find the best 100% Cabernet Franc. Again, you might find a bit of Cabernet Franc in Bordeaux, but if you want to drink a 100% Cabernet Franc, that's the Loire. So with this list, you can already see that each grape has its region, I would say, okay? What's your favorite red grapes, if you know this? Can you write it down on the chat? I just want to know what you prefer. Are you more like a Pinot Noir drinker or Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec? So John says Pinot Noir, okay? Giuseppe Syrah, Eric Grenache, Amy Bordeaux Cabernet Sauvignon, okay. Okay, good. I like also, yes, Isabelle says Pinot Noir. Tempranillo, okay, yeah. I think I like Pinot Noir as well. Huh? That's one of my favorite. I like it's really delicate. I personally, I like Cabernet Sauvignon when they are at least 10 years old, because I find that when it's young, a young Bordeaux has really high tannin. So I prefer waiting a few years. The only problem is that you have to be patient. Okay, good, thank you. Isabel says Carmener. I think Carmener is a variety that you find in Chile. You used to find Carmener in Catmener. You see, I think you were mentioning Carmener. Catmener, I don't know this one. Okay, maybe that's Carmener. Okay, but Carmener used to be coming from Bordeaux, and now it's you find this in Chile. That's one of the specialty. Ah, no, you say it's Catmener. Okay, I will check this. Good. Thank you, Isabella. Ah, no, you say. Okay, I will check if this is Catmener. Catmener. Okay, your keyboard has some trouble. So I think you want to say Carmener. I was just thinking Catmener. I don't know this. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue with the. Okay, you confirm that's Carmener. Let's continue with the white varieties. White grapes. Same, huh? Chardonnay, a major grape that you find in all over the world. Chardonnay, that's Burgundy. If you love Chardonnay, if you like Chardonnay, go directly to Burgundy. In Champagne also they grow the Chardonnay. Well, Chardonnay in general is a variety that can grow almost everywhere, but the best place in France, that's Burgundy. And if you buy a wine and a white wine, if you know this wine comes from Burgundy, that's the Chardonnay. That's it. Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. You remember we mentioned Sauvignon Blanc before, so that's the Loire Valley, but more the east part of the Loire Valley. And then if you go on the west part of the Loire Valley, that's the Chenin Blanc. So Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, there are three big varieties in France. Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc, only dry white wines. But with the Chenin Blanc, you can find all different styles. I mean, dry, sweet, sparkling, lots of different styles for the Chenin Blanc. I love Chenin Blanc. That's so where I'm living. This Chenin Blanc is really big, and there's a big fashion starting for the Chenin Blanc right now. Riesling, the Riesling, that's Alsace. And Riesling, sometimes people think Riesling is only sweet, but no. It used to be sweet, Riesling. Now, some wineries, they always produce sweet Riesling, but today you find more and more dry Riesling. And some are just amazing. That's a grape I really love, the Riesling. What else? We have the Viognier. So I don't know if you have heard about the Viognier. Viognier, that's a grape that likes warm climate, and you find the Viognier in the Rhône Valley. So these are the main varieties. Of course, we have much more than this, but local varieties. But at least these 5 wines you can find in other countries. Well, again, what's your favorite white variety, if you have one? What do you prefer? Do you prefer the Chardonnay? The Condrieu. Giuseppe, he knows the great wines in the Rhône Valley. Yeah, Condrieu, it's an amazing wine. Unfortunately, that's a small vineyard, the Condrieu. That's an appellation in Condrieu. Yes, that's really nice. Eric says Riesling. Okay. Amy, Chardonnay from Chablis. Yes. Yes, Chablis, that's a Burgundy wine made with the Chardonnay. Isabelle, Riesling. Okay. Oh, you are lots of Riesling lovers right here. It's nice to see this. Sometimes people, they don't mention Riesling because they say that the only thing Riesling is sweet, but now they have beautiful dry Riesling. You know, Riesling is one of the best white I had in my life. That was a Riesling from Germany, from the Moselle Valley. So if one day you go to the Moselle Valley, just close to Luxembourg and France, on the Moselle side, they produce just amazing Riesling, lots of minerality. That's so good. But I love the Chenin Blanc. So, okay, grape varieties, remember this? Good question. Are the German Riesling sweeter than French? I think you find different styles of Riesling both in France and in Germany. So what I mean, in France, the wineries again, they will produce some dry, some sweet, different with a different level of alcohol of sweetness, and that's the same in Germany. And in Germany, they have a kind of special notification on the labels to mention the sugar. But I think the word in German is trocken. Trocken, that's for the dry Riesling. So it depends where you buy just the Riesling. There's no, you cannot say, okay, German Riesling, they are sweeter than French wine. It depends. Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer, that's a grape produced in Alsace as well. That's really spicy, that's really full-bodied. But I must say, I'm not a big fan of Gewürztraminer. It's difficult for me, Gewürztraminer. That's not my wine. So, but okay, I know it's really aromatic. So if you love the rose flowers, the lychee flavors, try a Gewürztraminer. And especially if you eat some spicy food, Gewürztraminer, that's a good pairing. That's not for me. So I like Chenin Blanc. I like the great Chardonnay from Burgundy as well. Okay, let's continue. So a few words on the best vintages also, because this is something important also. The vintages, well, they depend on locations first. So what I mean, one vintage, 1 year can be really great in Bordeaux and really terrible in Alsace, because we are not at the same location. But there are a few vintages that they are great everywhere in France. So I'm giving you my favorite vintages for French wine. So if you pick up a bottle from one of these years, you should be nice, I think. So 2005 was an amazing year, and today we can start enjoying the Bordeaux, the great Bordeaux from 2005. That's really great. 2009 was a year with lots of sun and beautiful vintage. 2010 also. So we have these two close, 9 and 10, and just recently the 15 and 16. So if you want to buy great bottles for aging, you can really pick up one of these vintages. And now if you go to other vintages, which are not one of these 5, it depends really on the region. Like 2007 is really great in Alsace. Okay, so remember these 5 vintages: 5, 9, 10, 15, 16. They're really great everywhere you go. Okay. So are you still following? Because I'm giving you lots of information. I hope you follow all this. I will send you the replay if you want to come back on this later to listen to this webinar again. So that's almost. We still have 10 minutes and I will finish this this webinar. Thank you. Oh, 2017. No, 2017 is not a great vintage in big regions like Bordeaux. You know, we talk a lot about the vintages in Bordeaux. Bordeaux 2009 and 2010 were 2 amazing vintages, and then 2017 came with some frost. They lost a lot of grapes, so it was hard in the south of France. But where I'm living right now, in the Loire Valley, the Cabernet Franc, the reds from 2017, it's going to be a great vintage. So it's not disappointing everywhere. Okay, so and the winemaker, the wineries in the Loire, they don't like people saying, "Oh, 2017 is bad," because it's a great vintage in the Loire. So again, depends where you are. But in Bordeaux, I must say, and in the south of France, that was not a great vintage. Yeah. Okay, still following. I hope. Good question. How would I compare 2003 and 18? They're similar, but the thing is, in terms of quantity of sun, of heat, 2003 and 2018 really similar in terms of heat, but 2018, as the grapes just before the harvest, you could still find some acidity in the grapes. So I think it will be a better year, 2018. The problem with 2003 is that there's a lack of acidity in the wines. So you cannot age the wine as long as you will be able, I think, with the coming 2018. Okay, now you must be thinking, how can I move forward with French wine? What is the next step? Because I gave you a big overview just right now, and I want to present you something because you stayed until right now. That's almost 1 hour. So after a global overview, you need to dive into the different wine regions and to discover the different wines. As I'm saying, I'm not easy to deal with more than 400 appellations. Hopefully, each wine region in France has what I call an iconic wine, which possesses only the main features of the region. So I have therefore deducted 10 that I propose to address in a dedicated training I created. So I created a training for presenting these 10 iconic wines. I want to present this just right now. The 10 iconic French wines to know and feel at ease in every situation. So for each of these 10 wines on the training I'm presenting, you will get, of course, the place of origin, the wine style, the grape varieties, the price, the best vintages, and other pieces of information, some additional notations on labels, some history about the wines. And the 10 iconic French wines is a training course which is displayed by videos that you can view in a personal space on a private platform, and you can follow the videos at your own pace. So this is the training I created. So for each of these 10 wines, you get a dedicated videos with some explanations. On this training, I added a bonus, what I'm calling the 3 emerging French appellations. So the wine you should buy and put in your wine cellar right now, because it's becoming more and more popular. And so I really, so if you want to improve your knowledge and feel comfortable with French wines, I would highly recommend that you check the following training, and especially I'm doing a special offer for this training tonight. So the value of all you get in this training, I think the value is around 320 euros, because to get it and all of this, you need to spend sometimes on different wine tasting classes. And usually I'm selling this training at 79 euro. And today only, because you follow all my webinar, I'm doing a special offer at 39 euro. So just until midnight. So if you want to continue to move forward, I will really recommend that you check this. Might be interesting for you. I'm going to give you the link in the chat. I mean the direct link if you want to click and have a look. And at the end of the webinar, you will be redirected to this. So maybe you can check this directly if you click on the chat. I gave you the link. So check this. Might be interesting for you if you want to move forward, and you can benefit from this special offer till tonight. Don't hesitate to check some review from my clients on TripAdvisor. So you have some 2 comments right here, but don't hesitate to have a look. You should check the name of my wine tasting classes. It's called Millesiwine wine tasting classes in Paris. Okay. So we are arriving at the end. So that's the time for your questions. Again, I'm giving you a display of the training, and you can just click on the link if you want. It's just 1 hour. So I said we should be together for 1 hour, so we are arriving at the end. So that's if you have any question, I would be very happy to answer another few questions. And Amy says, what's my favorite wine? Well, my favorite wine, that's a really difficult question to answer, because I don't have any preferred region than any preferred wine. I think I have some, and I have had some emotions with some particular wine, especially visiting the wineries on the regions. So, okay, if I had to choose one region, I would say Burgundy, but that's difficult. Okay. Any other questions? The wines from Sicily. Good questions. What do I think? Well, to be honest, I'm not a big expert on wines from Sicily. I had some full-bodied reds, and someone brought me back from Sicily a white. So I'm sorry, I don't remember the grape varieties, but I was surprised to test such a fresh white wine, because I was thinking about this strong heat in the south on the Mediterranean side, and I was surprised. That was dry and white, but sorry, I don't remember the name of the grape variety. And also from Sicily, and also I had some great whites from the islands in Greece, like Santorini was amazing. Vermentino, maybe, yeah, maybe, yes, maybe Vermentino. Let me think. There's another grape in Italy I had really nice. Verdicchio, do you know Verdicchio? Maybe I had some Verdicchio. It reminds me something from Italy, Verdicchio. Well, anyway, I think everywhere you can find great wine. We live in a period of time now where you can really find amazing wines everywhere. So you can explore wines like this all your time, all your life. Yes, Verdicchio. Yes, thank you. So, thank you a lot for listening to me tonight. I hope I gave you some a big overview on the French vineyards, on the French wine. Again, don't hesitate if you want to move forward and to train yourself for the on French wine. It can be interesting for you to check these 10 iconic French wines so you'll get some descriptions and yeah, ready for the WSCT level 2. Good. Good. Yes, that's I did this a few years later, the WSCT, and I did also the level 3. That was really interesting. And any question you may have, you can send me an email. I'm ready to answer. And I think in the coming weeks, I'm going to do some other webinars dedicated on other subject related to French wine, maybe one region like Bordeaux, maybe wine, just one topic like the Grand Cru, or maybe a focus on a grape variety. So if you have some ideas and if you want me to cover some other topics regarding French wine, don't hesitate to write it down in the chat right now. Yes, Amy says Pinot Noir from Burgundy. Okay, why not? Giuseppe, can you send me an email for the next training? Yeah, sure, I will. Sure. So I've got your email, so you will be informed for the other training. And if you come to Paris or to the Loire Valley, where I'm living, I would be happy to maybe to share a drink with you. Why not? So thank you for sharing. And again, don't forget that you have this special occasion until midnight tonight. So maybe I will find you on the other side online for the 10 iconic French wines. So bye-bye, guys. See you maybe in another webinar. And I wish you a great evening. It's already night here. Thank you. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Eric. And see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.